It's early. So I guess I'll sit here. I thought I was going to be late. I just rushed home. I need some black cardstock. Whoops. I guess I tore that. We just need scratch paper. Okay, let's see here. That's a stamp set. And the trimmer. There's a delay. Okay. So these are my paper snips. The host code. There's three eyeballs I see. Maybe that's 6 eyeballs. Okay. Big sigh. I'm going to move the host code because I don't really, my friends who support me in my live video are my friends of my upline, and her downlines don't expect you to order. And it's still early. 5 minutes. This is the designer series paper, by the way, that's on sale. And so I wasn't going to get this because I don't have any Halloween elements as far as stamp sets or what have you that I got out of the mini catalog. But I did get the paper because there is some other uses for it. The flowers, and you can't really see this one, but they're you know, and I like doing this. I used to like type up my piece of cardstock and or paper, typing paper, and make it really nice, but now I just kind of handwrite it in a marking pen, but it kind of helps to see for me, the palette. And when I was turned to this 3 years ago, I was really happy about it. And you know, and I save all these so I can still go back even when the paper's retired and I want to make something. I can still go back and see what's there. And this is probably not part of the video, but anyway, I'm going to use this particular one today, and it's almost time. I just thought I was going to be late, folks. We were down the road a little piece, and I was fearing I would be late. Now, so that's all there is about that. We don't have to talk about that anymore. Now, in making this card, I discovered something that I thought was really great. So these are all the typical tools that we use, and the adhesive type things that we use. I will use some Wink of Stella, which is our little pin that puts a little glitter onto the card. And the first thing I'm gonna do is move my cutter. I'm gonna score this cardstock. And we're gonna use, may as well start, I guess. We're gonna use Celebration Tidings. I'm gonna use this stamp set, this stamp out of it, this stamp, Happy Haunting, and the spider. And then I'm going to also use out of the September Paper Pumpkin, the stamp that says, Have a Happy Halloween, if you can see that or not, dirty stamp block, which this had product to make all these little treat boxes in it. So, but I wanted to use that stamp set, and this is the Paper Pumpkin, which is a subscription for those of you who are not familiar. And this was a September limited edition type box, special. And so that's that. I'll put that away. And this is basic black cardstock I will be using. I will also use a piece, inside stamping piece of 5 1/4 by 4 of Whisper White regular cardstock. I'll also be using a scrap of Whisper White and a scrap of basic black to die cut 2 images. And I will use as well these iridescent pearls to embellish once we're done. And we will be using, besides the Magic in the Night or of the Night or what have you, reminds me of Phantom of the Opera, we'll be using the Plaid Tidings designer series paper in the black and white plaid, and that piece will be cut at 5 1/4 by 4. So I'll cut that down because there's more to this. So 5 1/4 by 4. I should have cut the 4 already, but that's okay. So that's that, and then I will go right ahead now and make this 4 inches because it's going to decorate the inside of the card. Okay, now these will be put on the front of the card, and I showed a sample of the card already. I don't know where I put it, but here it is. So this is the sample, and why is that light in my way? Sorry about that. Okay, at least we haven't started it a whole lot yet. Now, this is, I don't really know what you call it. A split fold, I suppose. It's a real simple card to do. I have not made these before, but I have gotten a couple, 2 or 3 in the mail, and I've gotten them from swaps. So I kind of tried to build on it. So that is basically what we'll be doing. And to start, we're going to score. This is an 8.5 by 11. On the 11-inch side, we will score at 5.5. These measurements sound really familiar. This was where we would normally cut if we were going to make 2 cards out of this. And then we're going to rotate it and score at 4.25, the whole piece. And this is what we have, if you can see that. So now, what we're going to do is remove the scoring blade from the trimmer. And that's pretty simple to do. You have the spot here where it's edged out, where you insert your blades, and I think it's edged out. It's supposed to be. There it is. Okay, it's here. We just have to get it done. Okay, so that is the scoring blade, and I'm taking that out, and we have now just our trimming blade. And I'm going to try to angle this to make sure that we get this in the picture. Now, the key thing here is that you can cut this on your diagonal from point to point, from end to end, one way, and it will flip like this, like so. But if you happen to turn it and cut it a different way, it will flip like, oh, that's the same, but there's another flip. There's another flip there that's opposite, and I do want to show it to you because I did cut some that way, and then I was backtracking with my DSP. So here we go. This card is folded like this. The left side folds over diagonally down, and the top folds down diagonally. Whereas this card, the way this one was cut, the left side folds diagonally up, and the right side folds down instead of up, like the right side folds up here. The right side here folds down. It is basically the same thing, but the key to all of this, for any of you that start to experiment with it, or unless you might know, but if you don't know, here's what I found out. Cutting this designer series paper depends as well on how you cut it. Because if you choose to cut it one way, it won't fit on one of these cards. as opposed to if you turned it the other way, it would fit on it. But if you do turn it this way, it will fit on a different, I mean, on this, on the way it's going. Now, this is a patterned designer series paper, so I want it to be in that, in the way it looks. I mean, I want the bats to be up, and they're lace bats, by the way, to be facing up to me. I don't want them to be cockeyed every which way. So when I load it on the card, if I were doing this particular card right here, I would want to make sure that I cut this piece right down this center from this corner to this corner. But if I were going to put it on this card, I would want to cut it from this corner to this corner. So it is important, if it's patterned and it's directional, that you make sure so you don't waste your paper, because even flipping it doesn't really do what you want to do, I don't think. Let's see, if I cut it this way so that it fits on here, I'm going to cut it this way. So I'm going to have a piece like this that is not going to fit. It would fit if you flipped it, I believe, on the opposite side. I didn't try this, but that would mean that you have a whole different, in this case, color that you're dealing with. So you would want to prepare for that. So that's kind of the whole point in this, to show you that you can rotate and cut this in a, you know, it depends on your direction. So what I'm doing with this is I want it to be in this orientation, landscaped, with the top flipping up and the left side flipping out. So if I put my cardstock in and cut it from corner to corner this way, well, let's see what happens, because whatever happens, we have to adjust accordingly. Now, cutting the plaid piece won't hurt too much, but it will, because the other side of the plaid piece, actually, I was wrong about that. The other side of the plaid piece is not the color I want to play with. I want to play with this piece. So it's got to go orientation-wise the exact way that you need this. So now, in doing this, we're going to put our corner piece, and what I've done here, so we'll know what we're saying, is this is the cardstock 8.5 by 11. I'm going to rotate it clockwise. Now, this is for my own knowledge as well as yours. I mean, you can experiment with it and that's what happens. But so, okay, we are going to put it up here, and I don't know if you can see that, but it goes right into the cutting thing. And you can only do this if you take your scoring blade out. And then we're going to bring the bottom exactly, the point on the top diagonally down, and the point on the bottom is going to be exactly perfectly in that scoring track. So this has to be in the right, in the scoring track, and the point below has to be in the scoring track. And I'm not going to move it up because I don't think I can get it into the camp. Maybe I can, so that you can see, but I don't, it's not on an angle. But you can see this point is in the scoring track down here. Here's the scoring blade. I just about scored my fingernail. So I'm going to put it back down so that it's laying flat, and reposition it, make sure it's positioned correctly, which it moved. So that, if you can understand that, is point to point in the scoring track. And I rotated my my scored card stock clockwise. And you want to make sure it's in there. You may have to shift it a tiny bit to make the cut final, but it works pretty nicely actually. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to start in the center and hope it's on the mark, and go this way, go back up this way, this way. So now what has happened is it may not have scored all the way through, and it does, you have to be really careful. It does, this is beveled along here, so it will indent your cardstock, which I did indent it a little bit. So now I'm going to just leave this. Oh, it slid it. So, okay, I don't have to worry about it, folks. Don't have to worry about it. So now both sides are sitting in the orientation. They're going to be the same. They'll be exactly the same. So we're going to fold and burnish on the score lines. Fold and burnish on the score lines. And by rotating this clockwise, I got the opposite of what I wanted, basically sort of what I wanted to do, because I wanted it to be the orientation to be from the left. I wanted the left to open diagonally down. That was kind of ideally what I wanted, like this does, but it doesn't really matter. Absolutely doesn't matter. I mean, you're going to, as long as you cut your designer series paper correctly. So let's burnish this again, make sure it's good. And it is kind of delicate to cut that. This is kind of a little bit of an overlap, but I mean, it's you just have to get it right. You have to get your scoring exactly right, and these corner to corner cuts exactly right for this to work. So now I know that the plaid doesn't matter really, except it does matter because I want it to be plaid this way, not plaid this way. So I know that I want the slit to come here because this is where my slit is. Let's do it like this so you can see. So I want this piece of plaid to fit on this piece, and it's going to be cut right down here. So I would take the orientation 5 1/4. Let's see if that's right. I want to make sure I'm telling you right. 5 1/4 by 4, and I want it to go this way. So I'm going to actually rotate this counterclockwise. But if I used it this way, no, you can't. So I'm going to rotate it counterclockwise, and it's going to cut. I'm going to put point to point. Let's hold our breath, since this is a teaching thing for me as well. And it's going to fit like so. And the other piece would fit like this if we were using both pieces here. But now, the beauty of this is we have 2 cards. We're able, this will make us 2 cards. So we're going to put this over here. Now, we know that we want these, we want the 5 1/4 side, and we want these bats to be facing up. So we know that we need to put the cut here. So it's the same difference. 5 1/4, rotate counterclockwise. Point to point, and cut. And now we have a piece for both cards. We have a piece like so. And on this card, we have the opposite. Same difference, but it's just they're on an opposite side, if you see. So that's where you have to learn about that part of it, which is probably less complicated for you guys than it is for me. So now on the inside, we're going to go ahead and we're going to we have a couple of things we need to do. We don't need to cut anymore, because what I did was I took the piece of trim from trimming my 6x6 DSP 5 1/4. So this is the 3/4 inch, basically 3/4 inch by 4, and this is a landscaped card. So my 5 1/4 Whisper White by 4 is going to go landscaped inside the card, and I'm also going to stamp on it, but this is how I wanted to show you. This little piece of trim goes there. So I think that's my cutting. So we want to stamp, and I am using Memento ink. I'm using As We Go, and I mentioned that I'm using the stamp set Celebration Tidings. And let me find all my stamps are on blocks, so I have to get them all out here. I put them in this little tin thing. So where are my dies? Because we will be using dies as well. I don't know what I did with them. The dies. Here they are. So the dies are here. And we're going to use the Stitched So Sweetly 2 sizes of dies when we get to that point. And it's the 3rd and 4th one down from the largest in these little scalloped dies. So that is what we're going to be using die-wise. Stitched So Sweetly. So from the Celebration Tidings, on the inside, and I know I'm going to have this little border over here. You could put it, actually, I think it's probably best to go ahead and glue it down, because then you have your area set for you where you can, use your Stamparatus if you wanted, once you get it in the position you want it to be in. But this is, for me, I'm just using this. So placing this piece just immediately tells me where I can stamp and what I want to do, because I want to put the stamp in the center, so to speak. So the Memento ink, and we're going to take, like I said, this stamp from that set, ink it up well with the Memento. I'm just eyeballing to make sure I have it done well. And then it's not done well, I see. My ink pad probably needs some ink on it, I think. Ooh, I got ink on my finger, though. Okay, that's taken care of. Okay. Just another tap to make sure. Okay, let's place it. And you know about what you can do here with it, because it's pretty well set for you by having this piece already glued on. Okay, and then I want to stamp my saying, which is from the Paper Pumpkin stamp set, Have a Happy Halloween. And we want to bring that right center of this pointed cobweb effect. And then we're going to ink this stamp up again with the pointed cobweb. And again, the Stamparatus, I'm not sure if it would notch down, if you could be able to get a good placement on both of these with the Stamparatus. I know you could, you just might have to figure where it's got to notch down, but you want to try and get this similarly And I'm putting the point under the O in Halloween for this particular stamp set, but it's just a matter of voila. I think that looks okay. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that off so that I don't, by mistake, touch it again or anything gets against it. And we're good. Wait a minute, this one, okay. Now, let's put our designer series paper on the front and go ahead and get that glued down, because we know, and actually we can go ahead and glue our inner piece down. It's done. Okay, there we go. That's that. And where did I put my, here we go. Let's see, hopefully this is where I put them. This goes here, okay. So we're gonna put the DSP, and this is just liquid adhesive. Gluing it down is the easiest way to go, simplest way, and you are going to have the border that you would normally have on an A2 card, depending on what your border, you wanted your border to be. So you get that little edging in there. Okay. Probably just make sure, do it this way, and you can see it, I think. I hope I'm in camera range. I am. And I got some glue along the edge, so once that has dried really good, actually I'll take a tissue right now, because if you tissue right away, you can wipe it. And if not, you can use an adhesive eraser of some sort to get that off. So there we go. All right, so there we have that. Now, I'm going to close this for a minute before we stamp again. And I'm going to bring my, let's see, I believe somebody calls it a Mickey. I believe Miss Beverly calls it a Mickey. But another team that I watched a while back calls it a Suki, so I'm not real sure. It is the stamp, cut, and emboss equipment that we have from Stampin' Up. And it's a new item for us this year, and it's an excellent, excellent item. It really performs very well. I can say, because I have it and I've used it, and I can attest to it. And I have the Big Shot. So now this is my stamp, cut, and emboss machine. I am going to be doing a framelit, so I'm going to use number 1 plate. I'm going to use the number 2 plate, and these are distinguished. They tell you pretty much what you need depending on what you're doing. We're cutting, and I have the magnetic plate. Now my magnetic plate has already seen, and it's number 5 plate wise, and it has seen some days. I mean, it has seen some cutting already, and it does very nicely. it is a bit kinked or curved. And I will, once I put my dies down, be using another number 3 plate to cover for my sandwich. So we're gonna do the larger, and I try to use different areas of this mat. I mean, you can see I've cut all over the mat in all kinds of areas, but I'm gonna diagonal right now this one, and then we're gonna cut a piece of white, and this cuts it pretty close to the piece that I have, so I'm gonna do it this way. Okay, and that, my friends, is done. It's on a magnet, literal magnet board, and we're gonna run it through the die machine. Stamp, cut, and emboss. In this case, we are cutting, and let me bring it over to you to see perfectly what we have. Here's our die, and here's our cut piece. And that we will stamp our sentiment on, and here is the layer for it. You see that? There we go. Okay, so that's that done. And we're done with our machine. I'm gonna run it through, personally run it through right now and take it back over to the table. I don't have to fold it up because I have room on my table for it, but it is nice to fold it up and to be able to transport it is great. So here we go now. We've done this part. Now we have this. We have this, which is going to get our sentiment on it. And we're going to do this again in Memento ink. And Happy Haunting is from that stamp set Celebration Tidings. Which is in the mini catalog. Okay, here we go. And here we go to line it up. And this could also be done, and I'm doing it a little to the lower part of the stitching because I want a little bit of room to put my spiders up above it. So I chose to do it that way. And I'm going by the happy, the word happy, for my straight word. And here we go. Hope we did it right. I think that looks great, personally. Okay, I'm cleaning that stamp as well. Now, let's take our spider, the little spider, and we'll put the little spider What is that story? It's Miss Muffet and her spider eating her curds and whey. And along came beside her a spider. I forgot the rhyme, but it depends on your age whether or not you know it even. Okay, wanted to make sure that's done well. So there we go. I was nervous there. That was a lot of ink. So we'll let that dry before we fool with it for sure. I went to, boy, some of my ink pad, the ink pad is like inked heavy in a couple of areas and it seems hardly inked in a couple of areas. So I think I need to put some more, I need to put Ring-Anchor on that and get it more evened out. Okay, so we can close that up. We know that we're going to put this on to layer it onto here. So there we go. That's how that will go. And I'm going to use my Stamp and Seal Plus to do that this time, just because I wanted to use. I love it, by the way. I do love using it. I have refilled it a few times already because I've used it quite a bit. So now I'm trying not to touch. This spider is still maybe a little damp. Now we're going to put this on our card. And we can eyeball it. We know that we want it to be centrally located. And the corner is not going to be exactly on the fold. So we know just a tad below this split and a tad above this split looks good. That's eyeballing it. And I know that I can only put my adhesive on this area given here. So that is what we'll do, and I'm eyeballing that, and I want to put enough to make it and this adhesive, this Stamp and Seal Plus is in there's little strips, so you can fold it back if you go over. And I remember what I said, that this is a little below, and this is a little above. So we're going to touch it. Oops. And that's not where the adhesive is, but I just want to make sure I'm not too off on it. And there again, you know, I'm just go for it. There we go. Okay. Now we have that. There we have that. Very simple little card. And I want to put some iridescent pearls on it to embellish it. And that's all we need. And that made a nice little card to send to someone or present to someone. And I'll use my Take Your Pick tool. And let's put a pearl here. Let's put a pearl. I did that I should have done it a little higher maybe. Here. I stamped a little lower than I meant to. And here, let's go with here. So I think that's a good enough placement. So there we have it. Hope you liked it. I hope you understood, and I didn't ramble too much about the cutting part, because the cutting part is important, especially even with the plaid. If you cut your base card wrong, or a certain way, it's not a wrong way. It's this as opposed to this. Now, the other card, when you make the other card, of course, and I think I showed you that, you're gonna have that paper opposite, because no, you're not. You can fit it. You can do it any way you want to. So you could put it up here, and put your bats down here. That's entirely up to you what you want to do with it. These both happen to be with the plaid on the bottom. It doesn't matter, except, yes, it does matter. Take that back. With the plaid, it doesn't matter. You can put it on this side. With the bats, you can't, because then they're upside down. So sorry about that. I did tell you that earlier too, that when you have a design, you have to make sure the flow of that design is what your plan is. So in this case, the opposite would be the opposite of the one we just made, which is this one, is this. But your tag that your front part that you put on is all the same. I mean, you're putting on that the same. Everything is all the same. So there you have it. And I'm not sure. I'm calling it a split fold. And I really like that you can do that with your trimmer, and you can get your both cards done. You score it right away, the whole sheet of cardstock, and then you take the scoring blade out of your trimmer as such, and then you want to remember when you get done with that, though, that you want to put it back. So my scoring blade is at the top of my trimmer. People do them different ways. But this little groove right here is where you insert it, and then we're all back the way we're supposed to be. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope that I did okay. And I'm going to go now and finish up my cards because I'm swapping these with some friends and Tracy. Thank you. Bye-bye.